We got introduced to Justworks. When I say a partner to the business and a partner to me as the CEO, it's true. And I can go into so many different examples, but a big part of it is you want to take care of your people.
Welcome to Taking Care of Lady Business, where we have conversations about power, value, and success on your own terms. I'm talking with women who are building influence, wealth, and authority, not by following someone else's playbook, but by deciding what success looks like for themselves. These are candid conversations, hard-earned perspectives, and no BS insight from women who aren't asking permission. They're setting the standard. I'm your host, Jennifer Justice. Most people call me JJ. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Taking Care of Lady Business. I'm Jennifer Justice. Today, this episode is actually brought to you by Justworks. It's a platform built for founders trying to grow without drowning in all the operational chaos. And why this is so important to us at the Justice Department is we represent so many women in particular that are leaving the corporate workforce and want to start their own companies, but it seems so daunting given all the operational background, just everything we need to set up from HR, payroll, etc. So today we have amazing lady Cate Luzio, who started Luminary. You know, she left a 20-year banking career, self-funded Luminary, lost about 75 to 80% of her revenue during COVID, and still found a way to build, and not only build, grow, and scale. And so we're going to have her talk about how she did that, because it, like I said, can be very scary. Hi, Cate. How are you?
What's up, JJ? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Need to see you IRL, actually.
IRL.
Even though we are like, I don't know, 20 blocks away from each other.
But life is life, right? Exactly.
I don't know. We went through the winter hibernation, so I guess we're excused, right? Why don't you tell us and anybody who doesn't know what Luminary is yet, you give your own background. How about that?
Sure. So Luminary now is a global professional education and networking platform. We work with two different audiences, B2B and B2C. So we have thousands of individual members now around the world and more than 30 countries. And then we work with dozens and dozens and dozens of companies around the world, not only to support their employees, because we do a ton of training and development and workshops and programming, but also for companies that are looking to get in front of a more entrepreneurial audience. Why? Because 50% of our community identify as entrepreneur, founder, small business owner. The rest are navigating the traditional workforce. A growing percentage, to your opening remarks, are in transition. We work with all genders. We have been gender inclusive since the day we launched, and we have a physical location in New York. That's how we launched and why we lost so much revenue in the very beginning of COVID. But we also have a partner network with now more than 50 spaces around the world that gives us really incredible geographic reach. And we do about 15 to 20 events, workshops, programs every month, virtual, hybrid, and in real life in all different ways. And the real core of it is to advance, build, propel, support careers and businesses at any stage versus just one kind of person or one kind of role. It's been an incredible journey. We've also grown via 3 acquisitions. One thing that I have learned in this last 7 years is if you don't have the right approach to not only growth and maintenance of the business, but also risk management and your financials, you're dead in the water. So we can get into all of that.
Yeah. I mean, so let's do that. I mean, you were in banking. I'm sure you had assistants, and then you go, okay, I'm going to start this company. But like you said, you need to build that actual foundation, right? And that includes things like, you know, accounting, payroll, benefits for your employees, like compliance, risk, all these things that don't seem so sexy. But if you do not have them, why would anybody even like want to invest in you or, you know, like really take the business seriously, or bank, whatever. So how did you go about that? Who did that for you instead of you doing it? Also, you can't do it yourself, right?
And if you try, you will likely fail, because we as founders, entrepreneurs, business owners, however you identify, and however small, large your business is, you are inundated with tasks every day. right? And I heard this about 6 years ago from Amanda Baldwin, who at the time was running Supergroup. She said to me, Cate, you need, as the CEO and founder, time to work on the business versus just in the business. It's such great advice. I use it all the time. But I think back to when I wrote my first business plan for what is now Luminary, when I did the operational component of the business plan, like, what am I going to do to operate this business? It's not just you build it and they will come. I also knew that I needed to hire people before we even launched. Needed a head of programming, a head of ops, a head of community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was like, wait a second, how do I pay these people? How do I pay myself? What's compliance look like? Benefits? And I knew that I needed all of that. And I started, as we all do, and maybe AI makes it a lot easier now than 7 years ago, but I went down the rabbit hole of like, okay, I got to figure out payroll. I got to figure out benefits. I was like, this is a nightmare. This is going to eat up so much of my time or so much of maybe my COO's time. And then I learned just through research that there were organizations out there that did this. They were HR partners to companies. And a long story short, I started with one, and about 18 months into working with them, they just weren't the right person for us to help us navigate through, obviously, the pandemic and growth and change and hiring. We moved to another PEO. And then you take all of these critical functions, whether you have 2 people or 100 people or whatever the number is. And I don't like to use the term outsource, but they are your integrated partner for you. They do all of your benefits for your employees. They do all of your payroll. They do all of your compliance with state legislation. They do all of your filings. If you have a 401k plan, they do that. It's integrated as well. And so because we were going to have a team, and many people they may not even start with the team, but you ultimately want to grow into that team, you need a partner that knows what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to get in trouble with the government. You don't want to get in trouble with the IRS. You know, I talk a lot to our founders and the community about risk mitigation. And so working with a PEO, and ultimately our third try was a charm. We got introduced to Justworks. This is not a commercial. They are truly, when I say a partner to the business and a partner to me as the CEO, it's true. And I can go into so many different examples, but a big part of it is you want to take care of your people. I wanted to have parental leave. I knew I wanted to have good medical benefits, dental, vision, right? We have a number of working moms at Luminary that have their families on our plan. So it cannot be just, again, you build it and they will come. It's like, you've got to really think about this. And it saves so much administrative time working with an organization like Justworks that really gets it. And the one thing that I'll say, I mean, I could talk a lot about what they do, is they are 100% focused on small to medium-sized businesses. They don't have an enterprise offering. They don't have an enterprise level where you're constantly being upsold, but they are focused on SMBs. And that gives me such great comfort and the trust. And there's a lot of integrity in what they've built. Again, I can go on, but I think that founders, business owners think, oh, I'll just do all of this myself and it'll all work out. Not only the admin stuff and time, but that, again, that risk mitigation is so critical.
Okay, so give us an example of something that maybe your old PEO did not do well and they, have done.
And again, some people say, well, this is so dry, Cate. It's boring. It's not. I mean, you can see I'm passionate about it.
Like literally, like I see this, representing women all day long, and they don't have the right terms and conditions, or they don't have like risk compliance. So, like, that's not sexy. Why would anybody want to spend their time doing that? And all the AI and like in the world, people think that they can use it as a lawyer. If you don't know what issues to even think about, then how would you know what to even ask AI to prompt it? And you can ask it to prompt everything, but you don't understand the full ramifications. So yeah, give us an example, like in something that you were like, how did I not know this? Or this would have been like devastating to like Luminary.
Okay, good example. So pre-pandemic, everyone that worked for me at Luminary was in New York. So all of the guidelines, all the compliance was New York State, right? And New York City. So all the taxes, everything. Pandemic occurs, we acquire a platform called Declare. They have people in not only in New York, but they have people elsewhere. And then they also had international employees that were on visas. No idea that I needed to do anything different. I was with a prior PEO. So I started getting letters from different departments of labor, like, you haven't filed this, you haven't done this. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? I'm paying everyone. Entered Justworks, and when we acquired the crew, and I even had a bigger remote team. In fact, all of them were remote. And so Justworks came in and said, okay, guess what? We've got this handled, right? We know how to handle everything from Maryland to New Orleans, all of the state legislation and compliance, from taxes, payroll, benefits, everything, it was handled. Had I not been working with them, we would have been having a very different conversation at the end of the year. One, as it related to taxes with both the IRS as well as all of the different states where I had employees. And three, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? They were super proactive in coming to me and saying, okay, Cate, you've got someone in Louisiana, you've got someone in Maryland, you've got a contractor in, at the time she was in California. It wasn't about me having to figure everything out. They came to me. They also came to me. And another great example was, you, Luminary, had this legacy 401k plan. We think you could do better. We're not trying to upsell you, but we think you could do better with our integrated 401k plan. They have such a customer-centric approach. They're looking out for you before those challenges, those problems happen. And it's not a reactive, right? So many of us as business owners, we're doing a million things. We become reactive because we don't even know to be proactive. This has allowed us to be so much more proactive, meaning we're not looking at it. They're looking at it for us and coming to us if there potentially is a problem, but more importantly, with the solutions. They also just keep us, again, so honest about everything that we're doing. And when we looked at the dashboard the first time, even for me, I like details, but I don't like details. Just in being able to look at everything, even down to reimbursements. We were doing reimbursements beforehand just out of our operating account. They were like, wait a second. You have people that travel, you have people for expenses, people that buy things out of pocket. Let's get this all on the platform so your people are taken care of, they feel taken care of, and you get this off of your plate. Again, that to me, that's a magical partner when they're really coming at you and saying, here, by the way, you don't even need to determine the problem. I've already figured out the solution, and here's what it is.
And that seems so daunting when you're like a small business. And one of the things like women have so much is this imposter syndrome, which we don't know what we're doing, or, question ourselves like, well, we don't deserve that or whatever. Like, it seems too good to be true that something could help you in that way. You know what I mean?
When you onboard a new employee, whether they're part-time, full-time, you have to have a process. We really didn't have a great process before. It was there, but it was definitely, there were holes in it. And so even working with them on an onboarding process, now we hire somebody or someone leaves, all of that's taken care of by Justworks. Like everything from the minute they're hired, we get them introduced and that's done for us to the minute they potentially, leave. It's not a silver bullet, right? Because you got to do the work to work with them, but it is such a turnkey solution that it just removes a lot of barriers. And I think that's the other thing for founders, and business owners, we have so much on our plates, and you want the easiest sort of low barrier, let's say, process so that you can be more efficient. And now even with AI, it just gets overcomplicated. I do not want it to be complicated for me, and I certainly don't want anything to be complicated for the team.
Right. Well, how long into this journey of becoming like from banker to entrepreneur did you realize how hard this was going to be?
Before we even launched, I think when I did the business plan, and I think this is like, whether you do a business plan or a deck, everyone's like, so great, I'm building this business. And many businesses don't start off with full teams. They start with the founder or the co-founders. I could not run our business without having a team. We formally launched in January of 2019. We did a soft launch-ish in November of 2018. I had to have people hired like in place by September. So even like you would say pre-revenue. And so I knew even before then we needed, but I didn't know exactly. So it wasn't until a few years in that when I got introduced to Justworks through that acquisition of the crew, that it was the light bulbs were, oh my gosh, I could have saved so much more of my time and my team's time. And again, a better experience for my employees where they have access to so much more. And I think we forget that a lot. And I think we want to take care of our employees, but we want our partners that we work with to also have that same mentality and taking great care and offering efficiency and operations and in this case benefits. Even if there's a problem with a paycheck, I don't have to deal with it. They take care of that. It's all through their platform and their people. And the last thing that I'll say is, I know the world has become more efficient with the chat bots and the AI, but when you're talking about people and your business is so personal, I want to talk to a person, or I want at least the option to talk to a person. You get a dedicated customer success manager and you can talk to them at any time. And I think that gives me, again, another great deal of comfort because running a business is hard. We tend to think about the growth and the marketing and the customers.
You know what? Sometimes it's like you push it back because it's not something you know, right?
Because we have thousands of business owners in the community, I think it becomes an afterthought of, okay, I'll do that another time. I've seen it in big companies in my former life as a banker. If you don't cross your T's and dot your I's and on the operation side and the financials, you are going to create much bigger problems and headaches in the long run. And you don't want to be in that position, especially if you don't have people to do it. Because if it all comes back to you and on your plate, then that takes you away from running and growing the business.
That is an important point to hit on, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Like, you know, when I represent these female founders, I try to say to them, like, no one is going to put money into your business if you do not have a lawyer. No one's going to put money in your business when you have employees if you don't have some HR solution. If you don't take yourself seriously, why would they take you seriously, right?
Even working with an accountant, right? So at the end of the year, hopefully everyone is working with an accountant. And when they ask for, if you have a team, even if you have contractors and freelancers, hey, can I get a download of your W-2s? Can I get a download of your 1099s? I think a lot of founders do that all manually, right? And we push a button. We get that, we send that off to our accountant. And then again, if there are any discrepancies, I have the accountant work with Justworks, which is our co-employer. And I think that's a big word people don't really understand. That means that we're in this together versus they're just a vendor, because all of our employees also have access to the platform. They can go in and check their taxes because they also have to file taxes, not just us as a business, right? So they want to also be protective and they want to make sure everything is ticked and tied from their company, just like we all trusted our big companies that we worked for, that everything was working in the background. And so that gives another great level of trust and comfort, not just to me as the owner, but also to those individual employees that are relying on us as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this because I know you don't work for Justworks, but obviously you're a big fan. But like, what's the earliest you should sign up for something like that?
So first and foremost, I think, the nice thing is you don't just have to submit something online. You can actually get on a call with any of their account executives to even just say, is it too soon? Am I too early? They also have a solopreneur program. So even if you don't have employees, but you're thinking of how do I pay myself? How do I file taxes? What are benefits that I may have access to? Which oftentimes solopreneurs don't think they have any level of access to that. They can walk you through that. I think the minute you've hired that first employee, you're now 2, then you're 3, then you're 4. Even if they're contractors, freelancers,
yes, if they're 1099 independent contractors, they don't have to be an employee, because back to another point you were saying, and I represent a lot of executives too that have different remote workers, et cetera. The laws are different in every state for employees. Just to know that, and if you hired me to do that work for you, I mean, look, hire me, please. But if you it would be astronomical. You couldn't do it.
When you're reactive, that's when you get into these challenges and then you're spending a lot of time and a lot of money on problems that could have been, never became problems if you had the right partner. When anyone says, well, I'm still too small, I'm like, you don't know if you're too small. Have the conversation. I think Justworks is not someone that's just going to sell you on selling you. I actually know that because we are a client. They are going to tell you point blank, you know what? You're probably not ready for this right now, but let's keep talking. Let's see how you're growing. It's nothing to do on the revenue side, right? It's just like where you're at in growth and scale. But they also may say, hey, if I had known, again, pre-working with Justworks, when we acquired, some of these companies, I wish I would have known some of the things that they have now taught me, right? Because again, it would have saved a lot of time, a lot of agita, and made us much more efficient. And by the way, it would have made our employees that were being onboarded to Luminary as part of those acquisitions a much better experience.
You are opposite. Like we've had this conversation before, and I love this. Cate acquires companies, right? But there are companies who want to be acquired. And if you want to be acquired, there's a lot of things you need to do that. First, okay, let's talk about fundraising, et cetera, right? And, people are going to come in. And I think there's this perception with fundraising that then you equate to being able to find partners that help you in all the admin and operational, is that I'm not big enough to raise VC money yet because I need this kind of revenue. Well, again, we already said, like, you need that operations part down in order to, get the revenue. But the other thing is to be acquired. If you look at a company and they're all over the place and the payroll is not done and the HR is not there and the taxes aren't ready and they can't just turn over these kinds of reports, then you're going to move on to the next person, right? This is for small businesses. There's so little things that are for small businesses that don't seem like sketchy and like predatory. These are things that will help you decide whether A, you want to start a business, B, if you can get acquired, C, if you can acquire other people, then raise money, all the things that are so necessary. And what I want people to really understand out of this conversation is that you can do this. You can start your own business, you need some capital, et cetera, but spending your time doing what you're so good at and hiring other people. And yes, do you have to pay some money? Yeah. But the whole point is that you don't have to spend the time doing that. So you can go out and make the money, right? And doing.
Yeah. Let's talk about the money thing for a second, because I think this is critical, right? I think, again, when you're starting a business, obviously you should be laser focused on, the capital that you're investing. In our case, I self-funded the business when we started, and where that money is going, right? And I think oftentimes small businesses go, I don't want to spend it on that. I have other things. Okay, ROI. ROI in working with a PEO like Justworks, it will pay you back tenfold because it's saving you time. It's protecting you, right? It's making it a better experience for your people, for you as the founder. So you have to invest in your business in order to grow your business. You have to invest in your business in order to protect your business. And you have to invest in your business in the right things to make sure that your business is there in the long run. Talk about acquisition. We looked at an acquisition last summer, and it ended up not going through for lots of reasons, but we were this close. And one of the biggest things, and they had a lot of employees, double the size of Luminary. And what was one of the best things when we were looking at it was like, oh, they're already on Justworks. So it's something actually new that I have started looking at as we look, like what platform are they using? Where is their payroll? How are they handling benefits? Especially if you're acquiring not just the asset, but you're acquiring in that transaction people. People have expectations. If they already have these benefits, this is how they do things. Doesn't mean it's going to be like for like, but that's the expectation. When you work with someone, if you are looking at this, then you need to understand sort of what those expectations are. Had that transaction moved forward, it would have been, from the people side, much easier. So these are all things like I have learned over the last 7 years. But the other thing now is, as we're looking at transactions, as we're looking at growth, what I now know is I can go back to our team at Justworks and say, this is what we're doing, or this is what we're thinking about. What am I not uncovering here? What am I not thinking about? Where they become, again, a much more strategic partner, just like our lawyer, just like our banker. And that's been hugely advantageous for us to be nimble, but again, protecting our people and then making our people feel really taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are certain things, and knowing it from representing the women on the other side of companies, like If somebody's going to acquire somebody, the last thing they want is some kind of HR lawsuit or HR issue, right? They don't want that. Other things outside of, the JustWorks realm, like trademark, IPs, things like that. Do you have that? Like if I'm buying something, I want to make sure that you own that intellectual property, you own that trademark. These are all things that when you're small, you need to do. And yeah, there is some certain capital that you need to put into it. I would say between $15,000-$20,000 just to like start your company. And it's good to know that so you can save it. So you're not like scrambling and being like, oh, I can't afford a lawyer. Well, then how do you know what company to organize? Is it an LLC? Is it an S Corp? Is it an Inc? What kind of thing there? Okay. What's my IP? If you're doing a packaging thing, you can't just put Luminary on a bunch of packages and then expect to get the trademark. Those take 6 to 9 months. You know what I mean? And then it's like, what kind of operational foundation do I need?
Even just thinking about things like tax filings. Again, that's the back of your mind. You're like so focused on the business, even if you have a big team, all of a sudden it's, oh my gosh, it's going to be April, right? Those W-2s, whatever they are, they go right to the people. So they're able to file. The company, they file on our behalf. So we never miss a deadline. And that our accountant also, when it comes to that, never misses a deadline because we've got these great automated reports.
I love getting into the detail because like right now AI is going on, right? And they're like, oh, and you can do this project with them and set up this skill. And I was like, can somebody just tell me what I have to do? Like, do I have to buy Claude, which program of that? And then how do I do it? And do I need another computer? Like no one tells me that. And that is what's missing. So we all say, oh no, you can do this. And we do it on this podcast all the time, like talk big subjects. But getting down to the nitty gritty of what you have to do it and make it so more like less daunting because there are things like JustWorks and, AI and other things that can help you, like helps that hurdle, right? It's like a one step at a time. And you're like, okay, I can do this now because I don't have to worry about these things and make my life much easier. So
yeah, the devil is truly in the details,
yes.
Right? We know that. It's in just like you were saying before, it's in the fine print. As a lawyer, you know this, right? All the details.
Well, I was scared when I did it. I was like, oh God, what do I have to do? And I was like, oh my God, first of all, I have all the resources. Like I can go ask all the people, right? So I had that and I was nervous. So I can only imagine somebody in particular, a lot of women are creatives, right? Who start businesses. Like you and I are weirdos when it comes to it. Like they're creative. So they're like, oh, brand and marketing. I don't want to think about this other stuff. It's great to know that there's this kind of organization, et cetera.
Yeah. And again, they put the customer first, which is big for me. They are a relentless advocate for the businesses they work for. And, I love that small business is truly personal for them. And it's from the CEO down to the customer success manager that you're dealing with. It is truly personal and they are there to support you. So it's not just about being a trusted partner. It's in those details. It's in that relationship. And we are in a much better place as a business, thanks to JustWorks. And certainly my business manager who manages the platform would tell you it's probably saved her 60% of her time leveraging the JustWorks team and platform for her day-to-day business.
Wow. So, you've now acquired 3 businesses and you're growing. Like, when are you no longer called a small business?
By the way, I feel like this sometimes can be a gender thing. I think women tend to say like, oh, I have a small business. It's like, I have a business. Like whether it's $100,000 business or $100 million business, I have a business. What I think is important about the distinction for JustWorks as an example is they don't have the enterprise product offering that many of their peers do that you're constantly being told to get to in order for them to upsell. They are focused on that small to medium sized business. Again, whether you're 2 people or 100 people. And I think that's their sweet spot. And you feel it in everything they do.
I love it. So, Luminary, what is in the future that you can share with us?
We've got Luminary Live, which is part of our on the road experience in person in LA, June 4th and 5th. We have got our Black Business Month Summit in New York at Luminary, August 12th and 13th. We'll have Luminary Live, our Founder Summit. That's going to be September 30th. And then we'll be in Boston in October and South Florida in November. The exit plan, which we just hosted in April at Luminary, which is around M&A for your business. We'll host that on the West Coast in the fall as well. So a lot of IRL experiences to to take advantage of the experience economy, but then couple that with all of our digital. So
What does Luminary Live consist of?
So it's usually 2 days of events, one full day geared towards business owners, founders, entrepreneurs in partnership with our great partners at Justworks. Usually a day or a half day, really more around content. Around, it doesn't matter if you're a founder or a business owner, just around navigating your path, owning your worth, understanding sort of how we navigate this crazy world, regardless of where you're at in your journey. And it's a great way for people to come together. We get a lot of thought leaders and experts, both that are business owners themselves, others just senior leaders. And in some cases, we have marketplaces. So all of those IRL we love. And we've got our health summit next week that's both in person and virtual at Luminary, focused on whole health, physical health, mental health, financial health, reproductive health, hormonal health. So we are really focused at Luminary on not just the professional development access and networking, and not just on a founder or not just on a banker. We're focused on you as an individual, as a whole human, and how we can support your ability to navigate and grow no matter what your path is.
Amazing. Sounds like you're busy, lady. All right. So we can't let you go without asking our famous question at the end of the podcast, everyone. Now, you've done it a few times, but I'm sure there's still a lot left in you of the worst advice you ever received.
Keep your head down.
Oh my God, that was mine too.
Accomplishments will speak for themselves. They don't.
No.
Keep your head up, keep your hand raised, be visible, be engaged, and build your case with data and facts. Like, show your worth. Like, why are you there? The value you contribute, but never keep your head down.
And then ask for it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kate. If people want to find you, where do they do that?
So Luminary, we are luminary.com. We are Luminary on Instagram, Luminary on LinkedIn. And it says we're identified as a social network there. There's a lot of Luminary. And then me personally, my favorite platform is LinkedIn. And that's just Cate Luzio, CateLuzio. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you are welcome to, but you will see a lot of fashion. You will see a lot of cats. You will see a lot of nieces and nephews. So it's more of a personal, but I don't know, people tend to follow it.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you to everyone who listened to this episode of Taking Care of Lady Business. Until next time, I'm Jennifer Justice. Thanks to MedJet for supporting the Taking Care of Lady Business podcast. When you travel for work or internationally, the real question isn't if something could happen, it's whether you've planned for it. That's why I'm a member of MedJet and have been for years. If your security is threatened or you're hospitalized while traveling, MedJet can get you home and to the hospital you choose, not just the closest one. It's not travel insurance. It's about not leaving critical decisions to chance. If you travel regularly, it's worth having in place. You can learn more at medjet.com. Thanks for tuning in to Taking Care of Lady Business. If this was useful, subscribe and share with a friend. Make sure to check out the show notes for more on my guest and me, Jennifer Justice. Taking Care of Lady Business is a production of Lady Business LLC. See you next time.